And she was like, noodles? I'm like, yeah, noodles? You said what's happening in China? I said, noodles. Hi, I'm Steve from 123D. Today we are skipping the unboxing, cutting straight to the chase. The AD5X 3D printer from Flashforge. So yes, we have removed it from the box. Packaging wise, we had some polystyrene blocks with the printer encased in those inside a plastic bag. Removed it. Everything else is as out of the box. We haven't done anything else up until this point apart from that. So this has been on the market now for a little while. It's Flashforge's entry into the multicolour filament range. Now it's not an enclosed machine, so for those of you who are looking for a machine that's going to print more exotic materials, this probably wouldn't be the one for you. But for people that are wanting to print with typically PETG, PLA, TPU, it is fine. So without further ado, let's get this assembled and see what it's all about. So I shall proceed to remove some of the packaging, which is very, very tightly packed with some foam. So remove the back one first, slide the extruder back, which then allows me to remove this. It's like a Jenga puzzle. And then we have another layer beneath the layer. So this layer I shall manipulate through the front, and there we have the carcass. So next up I will remove all the gubbins from the foam. Gubbins means bits and pieces for anybody who doesn't know what gubbins is, just to clarify. We have a bag of tools, we have a power lead, that is that foam. And in this one we have, I think that is what we would refer to as a buffer unit. We have some tubing, very interesting PTFE tubing. So 4 PTFE tubes that route into one point. We have some filament samplage. We have a cable. We have a ratchet metal springy thingamabob. Oh, that looks like it's a mounting bracket for this, but we will clarify that in the instructions. And then we have some spoolie holders, all numbered 1, 2, 3 and 4. I shall pop all those there. That is that. Done. I did receive a bit of paper. How to install the display screen. Remove the tool kit from the foam packaging. Take out the 2.5mm hex wrench from the toolkit. Use the 2.5mm hex wrench to unscrew the 4 screws to remove the metal plate. So grab the Allen key out of here, which they're in a bag within a bag. And that is not a 2.5, that is a 3. So I want the middle one. I'll hold the screen while I do this because it's suspended on a ribbon cable, which is typically always very delicate. Bracket removed. Now it says flip out and take the screen display, then follow the directions of the arrows in the diagram to fit the screen securely. In the top of the frame there's these 2 little recesses, so we slide the screen into them recesses and then slide it across. Screen is fitted. Winning.
I'm by winning.
Pop them in there for now. I don't think we'll need them again, but it's always nice to have them. So that is just purely and utterly just for attaching the screen. And then I have an envelope. So I shall open the envelope and see what is inside the envelope. After sales service, quick start guide. We'll take a quick look at the quick start guide. Pulling it out of the box, all that yada yada yada. Attaching the screen, removing the foam, and then the contents, and then how to proceed with fitting said items. So first thing it wants us to do, this little metal plate fixes to here with some M3 6mm screws, which they all appear to be the same size. There's a little bag, there's a plastic part in there, and there is 6 screws in total. So 2 holes, bracket, 2 holes. So we get the appropriate size Allen key. I'm so grateful to Alan for lending me his key.
Alan! Alan! Alan!
And it shows in the diagram, it goes that way round, so the holes to the bottom. Right, next step. Okay, so I rephrase my terminology. This is not classed as a buffer, this is classed as an IFS module. Basically showing click, in, done, bosh. So spin that back round. Then it would like us to take the PTFE tube would be singular, we are quadruple. And then this end here pops into the extruder. Now, doesn't really very clearly stipulate what way around that works. So will it only go in one way? How bizarre. Okay, brute force and ignorance. So it's a snug fit in there. It's basically push it into there and there's like a pneumatic coupling. To get that out, you're going to have to push the collar down, which I'm not sure how you will do because you can't see the collar. And then it says connect the tubes to the IFS module. Doesn't matter which order these are done in, so I'll just do them in a neat fashion. Make sure they're all pushed in correctly, which they are. Okay, right, so this basically attaches to a tube by the clip, so it keeps the cable tucked up out of the way. And then, so the cable plugs into the back of this module in there, and it also then plugs into the back of the printer in there, and then we have this little plastic part. I'll spin you around again so you can see. So the cable plugs straight in there, around into the back of the printer, and then this part is a strain relief, I would guess you would call it. So basically just to stop you from snagging the cable and ripping it out the back of the machine or the module. It's showing, you look at there, short side, long side. It's showing long side points down, so pop that over the cable, get your screw it to the back of the machine. Don't go mad, just nip it up, it's only plastic. Flip it round this way, so we've got all the numbered locations for our spool holders. We watched Sam Prentice's video on the same machine, he's reviewed it as well, and he was sent these as an extra item. So these are upgraded, from what I can gather, these are upgraded spool holders. Now the purpose and the logic behind these is they are spring loaded. So as the filament is being pulled off, it is tension in the spring. When the machine then wants to retract, these help aid the retraction. So because they're spring loaded, it will help to actually pull the filament back on and wind it back onto the spool. In theory, I have every faith that that is the case, but now obviously we'll trial it. So as far as I know, these literally just slide on like so. I would suggest following the number pattern. I can't say they would have done that for no reason at all. It would probably have something to do with the way that they actually tension the springs. That would be the common sense solution. We have done that. If I flip it around again, we have obligatory arrows. Getting you very used to these arrows now. Transport screws. So through the transport process, to stop the bed moving around, waving up and down, jarring out of alignment and everything else, they fix it to the base of the machine. So before we do anything else, we need to remove those screws. In this case, they are marked by yellow arrows. One at the back. And there we go. Well, I do believe we're ready for power. Oh, push that in the back. Pop it in the socket. Flick on the machine. Flashforge. What a jingle. We are initializing. And here we go. Select your language, EN. We'll skip Wi-Fi for now. Calibrate the machine. The device will perform an automatic self-check, which will take a few minutes. So we should let it do its thing. Currently leveling, heating the bed. I think it's wanting to get to 220 on the hot end and 60 degrees on the bed. We're just making an observation. The build plate has got in text on this build plate is actually suitable for PLA, PETG, ABS, TPU. Multicolour TPU prints. The possibilities are literally flexible. Like I said, ABS isn't going to really be a goer, not unless you put the whole machine inside an enclosure, which in some instances isn't wise because temperature builds up, the power supply is enclosed inside the machine, it's going to get hot and cause potential issues, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. The panels are threaded, so whether there will be an aftermarket enclosure, I am unsure. I mean, the indications would suggest that it could be a possibility because we do have multiple threaded holes. I mean, they look like they could be in line for hinges, I'm not sure. But how? I mean, it's going to take quite a big canopy or something to cover the top. But I mean, for the price point of the machine, an open frame Core XY capable of printing 4 colours of filament, this machine is very cheap. It's doing the thing, hot end's cooling from 220 down to 120. That'll be to probe the bed, or a very hot nozzle on a PEI build sheet can damage the texture. So it needs to cool to a bearable level before it completes that operation. I've noticed a bit of red PLA. That must be what was tested. The one thing I haven't seen is a USB drive. It appears to be the last point. And then what have we got? Then we've got the vibration test. So in simple terms, vibration test means input shaping. For those of you who don't know what input shaping is, it is where the machine vibrates and measures resonance. It then factors in the optimal resonance to iron out vibrations that have a negative effect on your print quality. In simple terms, imagine a big piece of jelly on a plate wobbling away. that is your VFA effectively. Because of vibration, it will wobble. So it is honing the correct frequency to mitigate that wobble as much as it can. It won't totally eradicate it, but it will find an optimal frequency. There you go, another bit of education. Don't know how we do it for the money. We're down to nearly a minute on the countdown timer. I wonder if at the end it goes boom. So observational wise, we have rear of the Z, we have 2 smooth rods driven by a lead screw. At the front, left and right side, again smooth rods, both driven by lead screws. Now I don't know if they're all, I would imagine they're all intercoupled via a belt to one motor, but without taking the whole thing apart and looking, I couldn't confirm that. But that is what I would surmise. Then we've got the X and Y, both again smooth rods, belt driven. So your traditional Core XY configuration and drive system. According to this, we are done. Now, the magical part. It would like us to load filament, starting on spool 1. So, whoosh, own brand, translucent PLA, link will be in the description. So, I believe that is spool 1. Push it on, and then go into slot 1. So, they are snug, but I would ensure that it's pushed right the way on until it meets the collar. So number 2, channel 2 filament auto loading. Please wait. Okay. So yeah, definitely make sure your filament's cut neatly on the end. Spool 3, plop that into the little tube labelled number 3. Select number 4. There we go. It's very side heavy now. They are locked on, held in place with little rubber boots at the end. As I say, just make sure that they're all nicely up to the collar. And we appear to be done. Now it says select a slot and edit the filament. So if I click edit, we can go PLA and then colour. So slot 4, we'll call that purple. Okay, slot 3, red. Slot 2, green. And slot 1, and is yellow. There we go. And we're into the UI. So I don't know what files, if any, are on the machine, but we shall have a look. We do have files. So we have an Orca plug in PLA 3MF file. So an Orca plug is basically a calibration cube with a screw-in hole plug. Basically it checks dimensional accuracy along with tolerance. We have a fish. We have a Flashforge logo. We have a benchy in multicolour, and we have an earphone. But I think for the purposes of the video, the best one to me looks like the fish. So I've just literally selected the fish. It's going to take 8 hours. So what we will do, first off, we will print the multicolour benchy, see what we think of that, and then we'll leave the machine then to run and print the fish probably overnight. So benchy selected, hit next. We have all the colours. Well, it's telling us their colours. Our colours are different to their colours, but we're going to have our colours.
Dude, what the hell are you talking about?
So I'd imagine all we need to do is literally press that little button. Please select the print material. Basically what you need to do, highlight each one. So I've changed blue to red, and then we've got yellow, purple. So 2 colours don't match, but that is fine. Print, there we go. It's getting ready. It's off. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a multicolour benchy. For those of you who remember Refreshers, the sweeties, it looks very familiar. That wasn't deliberate. Needless to say, printing has completed. Print time here is indicating a different time to what we actually saw on the file. So we have an acclaimed print time of 51 minutes, and it now says after cleaning the bed, you can click to print again. So it's giving you that reminder, clean your bed. A dirty bed is not a happy bed. Clean your bed. So I will remove the benchy, pop straight off, lovely. We'll pop that there for a minute. Obviously, here's our little purge tower. At the back, we have a purgy line. So I'll pop that back on again. Literally, there is locators on the corner, and you've got a nice little plastic grabby handle that doesn't get hot, so you don't burn your fingers. But I would still recommend you wait for the print to cool before removing it from the bed. Now at the front of the bed here, I've noticed that's where it does a little bit of a nozzle clean. So I've got a little bit of filament remnant there. And poops! Not many, but still pooped nonetheless. So, I mean, gauging on that, that isn't a complex colour change. So they're minimal purge poops. If you do more intricate colouring, you are going to have more poops. That is just a grim reality of multi-filament printing without a tool changing extruder. But I digress. Let us inspect the benchy. It didn't print super quick due to the colour changing. So it's not by any means a fast benchy, which would really point me towards it needs to be a perfect benchy. And I could pretty much say it is. I mean, it's done a very nice job. I've got a very minimal amount of stringing across the window, whether that's my temperature too high or the slice. I haven't set the temperature because it's a pre-sliced file, but I'm confident with a bit of tweaking I could get rid of that, and literally it is very minimal. There's not a lot there at all. We will also print the fish, and we'll put all of those on screen for you to view round about now, with links to the filament that we've used and all of that good stuff. But overall, I mean, for the price point, I currently believe that the price point for this is £339, delivered to your door. A steal for multicolour printing in a small form factor. You haven't got the aggro of a separate AMS unit or any of that stuff. So if you are limited for space, you're looking to get into 3D printing, you're on a small budget, you want to start exploring this marvellous world that is technology, this is definitely a worthy consideration. The build quality of the machine is very rigid, it's strong, it's easy to use. The slicer for this, I do believe, is a proprietary version of Orca Slicer. So anybody familiar with Orca Slicer will have no problem using the slicer that you have for this. And pretty much Orca Slicer is a very good slicer. So if you start off with this and you migrate, you will already have the foundations in place to use Orca Slicer. So very good, because the colouring and whatever in Orca for multicolour prints is really good. Key specs for the machine. I do believe we're 220mm cubed, if my memory serves me correctly. So X, Y, Z. So it's not the hugest of machines, but it is more than big enough for a lot of your normal run-of-the-mill prints. The direct drive extruder, and again, this system is capable of printing with TPU. For those people that use an AMS unit or an Ace Pro or a Creality CFS unit, you will know that you cannot print TPU from those units. You have to print it on a separate spool holder. This will print 4 colours combined TPU. That's got the edge on some of the other competitors. Well, it has to be a plus. So yeah, overall, it's a decent little machine for not a lot of money. We will revisit the machine again after we've given it some long-term use. I'm quietly surprised. I did see this machine at Formnext 2024 when they had a demo model on display, or they had a couple of demo models on display. It looked quite promising then, but until you've actually got something up close and personal and used it, you can't really go by a unit stood on a shelf. I mean, ultimately, after using it and seeing it and the setup process, quite pleasantly surprised. It's a good little buy. So link for this will be in the description, so check that out, along with the filaments that we've used. They will also be linked in the description. And if you have any questions regarding this machine or any other machine, please drop it in the comments box below or contact us directly via the website. And links to that will also be in the description, of course. I hope you've enjoyed the video, you found it informative, intuitive, and most of all, interesting. Goodbye for now, and I shall see you on the next one.
As always, we aim to have the most competitive 3D printer prices on the market. If you see any of our printers being sold by a mainstream retailer for less, please drop us an email using the link in the description, and we'll do our very best to beat their price. Also, if you're watching from outside the UK, check the description for links to our European 123 3D sister stores.